Hey everybody, Professor Heiman here, IBUS 841, Creativity Skills for the Global Manager. As promised, I'm going to go over a little bit of the fundamentals of sketching, the very foundational aspects of sketching. I want to emphasize that I'm not a professional sketch artist and I find it very difficult to do this, but I'm doing this so that you can get to my level, which is the ability to communicate innovator to self. Okay, we have two additional levels of communication, which would be innovator to innovator. That's a little harder than innovator to self, and innovator to outside world, and that's sort of the gold standard. Your stretch goal is innovator to innovator. Your super stretch goal is innovator to outside world, and the goal that we're going for, we're going for you to nail, is innovator to self. We're going to try that. We're going to start out on this path by looking at introduction to two-point perspective, okay? And we're going to start with a warm-up, which is to say we're going to throw some lines, okay? And I talked about throwing lines in class, and then after we do the warm-up, a short warm-up, because really I think the best message I can give you in the whole class is always warm up, and that's true for stuff like brainstorming too, but especially true for sketching. So throwing the lines is a warm-up, then we're going to discuss the horizon line and vanishing points and how there's convergence. And then we're going to draw a few cubes in the form of practicing on and above and below the horizon line. So first, take your pencil, and in my case a marker, and we want to just throw some lines. And again, the idea is to work from the shoulder, not from the elbow or the wrist. And we're back. Minor technical glitch, but we're up and running now. We were talking about throwing lines. I took the opportunity while I was off the air to just erase the lines so I could talk about that for another moment. One of the things you want to do with throwing a line is it's similar to throwing a ball. You want to look where you want to draw the line to. You want to look at your destination. Don't look at the ball. Don't look at your arm. So if I'm trying to draw a line to there, I'm looking there every time. I'm not getting it perfect every time, but I'm getting close. I'm looking at this point. Okay, sometimes I might want to draw it from the point that is my destination to out into the wild blue yonder, and that's also possible, but remember to look where you're throwing it still. Don't look at your point if you're starting at the point, if that makes some sense. Let me see if I can get some erasing going here. Oh, that's pretty bad. All right, we'll use a different part of the board. The other thing about throwing the lines is you throw, again, I'm going to remind you, you throw from the shoulder, so you don't throw from your wrist, and you'll get the straightest lines you can. So try that, warm up with that, and then let's see if erasing goes any better over here. Not really. All right, I made some demo cubes over here, and I was using mostly this horizon line. Now the horizon line is the same as the horizon when you look off into the distance, like at the beach. If you look far out across the flat ocean, the horizon line, it's actually where the Earth's curve starts to fall off, and that's as far as you can see in the distance. That's what horizon line looks like. And then we add these two artifacts because we're sketching in perspective, we're not actually in 3D. And these points at the end of our little artificial horizon line are called the vanishing points. And they're what all lines except vertical lines converge to. Now, it's certainly a good idea to practice vertical lines, and they're fairly straightforward, and you can do it with a line throwing exercise just like this. While you're watching, not worrying about the length too much. I'm just trying to get stuff roughly vertical. Get good at doing verticals, and then you draw a cube and you start with a vertical. So, not too bad. For me, the key to getting this right is to relax. If I start tensing up my muscles, I'm going to get rotten, crummy, awful lines, and to not sweat it too much if not everything lines up perfectly. Go back and fix it later. Also, in the case of this type of cube, where I'm looking from above and you can see the top, you've got to draw your hidden lines. These are the lines that are invisible that you wouldn't see if the cube was solid, but we're working in kind of a wireframe world where everything is transparent, except there's going to be an exception, and I'll cover that in a minute. So I'm darkening in the outside lines, the lines where the object I'm drawing, in this case a cube, meets the outside world. And I'm even correcting some of them. So hopefully this makes it a little cubier for you. And don't worry about erasing these lines where you've drawn it over. This makes it look kind of, this stuff here, that's kind of the overdraw, shooting past, that makes it look kind of designerly. It makes it look like a rough sketch, which is what it is. So that's helping you to communicate, all right? So let's pause, and I'm going to reset the board. But before we pause, take a look at these cubes I did here. This is one looking up from below at the bottom of a cube using this horizon line with these two vanishing points, okay? Now I'm going to go up here, and this is one I did with vanishing points that were out here, but I erased the line. And again, this is looking up because I'm drawing above the vanishing point. I'm looking at the bottom of my cube, and I kind of roughed out a little cylinder in there, which we'll talk about another time. And then this one I did without any vanishing points. I did it without the use of the vanishing points, and I just free-handed it, and I threw in this little line here to show everybody where the ground is. It kind of gives you a sense of what the scale of this thing is. So with that, we're going to pause, and I'll reset the board, and we'll come back, okay? We're back, and I erased the board here, and we're going to start with the horizon and vanishing points. As I mentioned before, we're going to draw a horizon line, then work with it for a little bit, and we're going to pay attention to the convergence, right? So the horizon line is the farthest line you can see in the distance. That's not a real good one, not too straight. I warmed up, but I still messed it up. Going off camera for a sec to get my handy dandy eraser. Windex is pretty good for this stuff, for information. Okay, let's do better. It'll take a little bit longer. I'm going to put a vanishing point here and a vanishing point here, and this is my horizon line. It's the farthest line that I can see in the distance as I look to on the Earth. And then these are my two vanishing points, and if it's not a vertical line, it vanishes, every other line vanishes in the direction of one of these points. And let's do a quick cube here to sort of show this. There's a reasonable vertical. It's not a great vertical. I'm going to try that again. And notice how I hate my lines, but I don't hate myself. Don't feel that you're inadequate, but feel that you need more practice. And oh boy, if I practice this, I'll get better at it, okay? There, it's a little better. So now, first line's kind of heading out that way. I'm going to stick with this. I'm practicing my motion here before I put, and I missed a little bit. I kind of, a little bit off to the side there, so that can cost you later. So I'm going to try and redo that, do that a little better, get the feel. It's a different muscle feel just to be an inch off. A little better, a lot more convergence. These lines are converging to that point. Same over here. I'm going to practice before I put the pen down. Okay, reasonable enough. And then these guys are coming together around here. So, okay, and then I'm going to drop a couple more verticals to define the sides of my cube a little bit better. Most designers draw kind of skinny cubes. They don't draw thick cubes. Okay, clean that up a little bit. Almost completely impossible, but I'll try. That's a little better. Okay, we're not looking for perfection. We're looking so that you can understand what you drew 8 weeks ago, that sort of thing. Now up here, this gets a little tricky. The top back edge of the cube, which is visible, not too bad. And we already have this one. I'm going to correct it a little bit. I think that's a little closer. And then the harder one is the top back edge of this part here. That's going to come back here. I like to draw from left to right. It's a personal bias. You can get good at doing both. I don't draw from down to up. I always draw from up to down, but ideally you should left to right, right to left. But you cheat. The rule is you do what works. So in this case, I'm going to draw from my vanishing point to the point that I want to reach. And that's terrible. That's better. That's even a little better. Let's get rid of terrible there. I'm gonna reach down off camera. I missed the campus, and I'm gonna just sort of get rid of that one. That one was a failure. Okay. Hopefully I got enough Windex on here, yeah. All right, so we're gonna clean it up a little bit. It sort of looks okay right now, but I'm gonna, before I put in the more hidden lines, or any hidden lines, I'm gonna clean up the visible lines so that it kind of looks cubey. All right, that's not perfect. Again, hate your lines, don't hate yourself. Okay, it's kind of a little bit tilted to that side, but I'm trying to communicate with myself. Now, to show you the hidden lines, I'm going to switch from black to green, and that will show off the hidden lines, and so you can distinguish those from the other lines. The first thing I'm going to do is take this from this corner. There's a line on the back left edge of the cube that also vanishes to this vanishing point. Okay, that's not too bad. And then there's a similar line that finishes it off on the back right edge of the cube. And that one I like to do like this, but I'm not so good at it, so I'm going to try a different approach. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Okay, so you can see now I can drop my vertical, my final vertical. You could even do that first. And now I've got something that looks like a cube. And the green lines, if you can see that, can we zoom in a little on this so people can distinguish between the green and the black? The green are the hidden lines, the lines behind the solid cube. But if this were a wireframe, if it was just made out of wires, you would see these lines if it was a transparent cube. Now I would kind of like to clean it up a little bit. And so I'm going to darken my outside object lines a little bit. I'm not going to worry too much about the straightness. These are outside lines. These here, 1, 2, 3, are inside lines that are visible. Now, when you want to draw above the horizon line, you're going to be drawing, like I showed you on that little sample setup I gave earlier, you're going to draw looking from the bottom. So this will be the first surface your eye sees. You're going to see the bottom from below. Okay, so let's just quickly try that. This is kind of a crummy black pen. It's getting contaminated by all the chemistry I'm using on the whiteboard, I think. Okay. So, I'm going to draw it. Always start with a vertical. And I'm not loving these verticals, but okay. And then, since I'm above the horizon line, let's make this a little farther above. Okay. Above the horizon line, do the easy lines first. Okay, these both roughly converge to this point. You can see that. Over here, I got the long lines now on the right side of the center. So long lines are in my strength. My strength move is left to right. Okay, so boom, and boom. Hey, I'm getting it. And now you can see sort of something cube-like emerging, except it's kind of floating in air. Okay, and that's one, and then. So now we've got the bottom of the cube, okay? There's and I want to bring that up a little bit by just going over it a little. And I'm going to also bring up my outer lines, my other outer lines, that are the outer lines where the object meets the space. And then this is also, these are outer lines on this sketch because that's part of the bottom, right? This line's not an outer line, so I'm not darkening it in because this is where two edges meet each other, okay? But here there's the edge of the object and space, the edge of the object and space, edge of the object and space, edge of the object and space. So those are the outside lines that I really want to darken in. And you can see you're getting the idea that, oh, it's a cube, you know? Now, here's the cool part. These, the two vanishing points and the horizon line, are kind of a crutch. And what you can do is you can teach yourself muscle memory. I think it's a little bit like practicing putting in golf. You can learn the muscle memory to hit it straight every time. You can sink the ball. So you can do it if you get the muscle memory going without the vanishing points, and you can go very fast too. So let's get tight in around here. Not too tight, but this is my work area right now. I'm forgetting about these two vanishing points. And I'm going to draw one that's similar to this, but I'm going to do it without the vanishing points in the horizon line. And one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to be a stickler for getting a half decent vertical, because that will, not having the verticals right, and the verticals are the easy lines, so hey, why not, you know? You have a better shot of getting that. Okay, there we go, there's a half decent vertical. Okay, now I'm not sweating things here. I'm trying to think this line's converging with this line, and this line isn't perfect either. There, that's a much better version of that line. Okay. Okay, bam, I got me a cube. I'm gonna color, darken in my object lines that are really reaching, oops, that's a bad one, but okay, I'll just fake it. If I relax, I get it. If I don't relax, I don't get it. Okay. All right, so those are my object lines here, and I'm going to get this one out of here. Where the object meets the air, the object meets the air, and the object meets the air. So I didn't darken in this one, and this one, because I want the cube to pop a little bit, and I want you to see where it is. If I look at this and I go, where am I like messing up convergence? It's probably this one. It's this line here. It's kind of going in a little too far, like that, you know. So I'm gonna sort of correct that a little bit. There, kind of a little bit. That's a little bit better. It's not perfect, but it's a little bit better of a correction. So now I'm gonna, if I want to indicate that it's sitting on something, this is, I think, the coolest part about learning this sketching stuff is I can put in a ground line. Not necessarily the horizon. It starts to give me some sense of the scale of where this object is, and it's back pretty far, right? Now, I'm not really cleaning up what these lines, they call these their construction lines, right? They're the ones that kind of bleed over. And just to show that I'm paying attention to my own instructions, I'm going to put in the hidden lines, the lines that are the edges that are behind the cube, if it's a solid cube. Now let's start with this vertical this time. Oh yeah. Okay, now this one has to converge with this one, and this one at the same point. So these two and this one are kind of going over to something over there, and I want to not screw that up. So I'm thinking it's going to be looking like that. And now I can just draw this to there, and that should give me about the convergence I need. Maybe it's about there, it's a little better. So put my point there. Maybe fake my vertical over a little bit to the left. And I got something that's cube-like, and the green is showing you the hidden lines. Now that's one way to sort of show the lines that you can see and the lines that you can't see. Why do we do these wireframes? I hear you cry, because we're going to wrap this video up by answering that question. If I just have a simple cube that I whipped out, okay, I need the horizon, these back lines. I'll draw them a little bit lighter, I'm going to keep them in blue. Okay, I need those back lines because if I want to draw something besides a cube, this is not Minecraft, folks, which is all cubes, for those of you who don't know. I want to be able to do some constructions, and ellipses are sort of the next thing. That's kind of the intermediate lesson is, if I want a cylinder, an upright cylinder, then I have to be able to draw an ellipse in this square here. Let me highlight that square for you so you can see what I'm thinking about. This is not how to draw an ellipse so much as it is why we're putting in the hidden lines. For that square, I want to be able to draw an ellipse, so I need to see these edges. And the ellipse is best drawn with this trick I was saying of rotate, make the motion with your hand, and then when you're comfortable, put the pen down. Okay, so I'm going to do that here. There's actually some tricks I'm going to show you too. I'm not always loving the first ellipse I draw. I'm not worrying about it either. Now for this one, let me see if I can do better, because I'm going to put in some lines that will help me construct the ellipse. And in this case, I'm going to put in an X here. Okay, and I'm going to put the halfway points here. Okay, so that's about bisecting this line segment that's right here, and then I got the X, the diagonal X, and I got the middle of this thing, and that's the middle of my ellipse. But what I really want to do is have my ellipse be tangent to the cube edge here, 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 and here. And I wanted to finish off this video by saying that I'm going to look up here where I drew this kind of star, where I drew the bisecting lines, check the earlier part where it cut off. And now I'm going to do my ellipse in here. I'm getting a little better ellipse now, see, because I have all these guides to work with, and then I just drop some verticals, and I have what's recognizable as a kind of a rather clumsy cylinder. Let's do another one real quick. And again, be picky about your verticals, get your verticals right, or everything will be messed up. Once your verticals are right, you got a lot of forgiveness in the system. Oops, bad vertical. Verticals are like pretty easy compared to everything else, so get those right. That's how I would say you should think about it. Okay. Now, finishing off this cube, I'm looking at these converging, and I want to make this guy converge in the same direction. Running out of green. That looks pretty good. Okay, and then this one is going to converge with this line and this line. These two lines here go off this way. I want this one to go in the same direction. But there needs to be a little convergence. That's divergence. That's a little better. So we'll take that. And now we have a basic cube. Let's just make sure we can perceive our cube. Okay. Okay, there's the cube, and I'm going to throw in, this time in red, I'm going to throw in my hidden lines. Start with a vertical. That was almost right on top of this line, which is okay. Get your convergence right, and bam, now I'm going to draw I'm going to construct, again, I'm going to draw an X here, I'm going to construct an ellipse here, and I'm going to then drop, this should be a pure vertical, it's really not because I haven't drawn it beautifully. I still got something that'll work. And now I can sort of, these ellipses are the hardest thing you'll be asked to do all semester. You won't be graded on how well you do them, you'll be graded on how well you practice them. Okay, and do the same thing over here. And I'm better at cylinders that lie flat. That one seems clear. I'm going to cover my red with these the outside object lines. Okay. And I've, roughly speaking, constructed a cylinder here. And the nice thing about cylinders is the invisible lines, they kind of show up automatically, so you don't really have to worry about that. Okay, this is clearly as I look at it, this is the weakest part of my cylinder. I need to have more curvature there. I could spend more time on it, but if I'm generating ideas through sketching, I just need rough sketches of stuff to work with. Okay, very quick closing note. Let's talk about cones for a second here. Quickly on cones. Are you getting me okay over here? Okay, so just draw a cube. Everything starts with a cube. It's not a great cube, but I'll live with it. I'm going to want some hidden lines. Okay, now what I need for a cone is to just get this top X here. That tells me where the center point, where the tip of my cone is, and then all I need to finish off a cone is one ellipse. Down here I'm going to construct that ellipse. And here we go. Not perfect, but then to get the cone, bam, you just draw from that center point on the upper face down to the bottom face of your cube, and you got a cone. It ain't a great cone, it's just a cone, and it's recognizably a cone. So we're meeting this goal of innovator to self communications. Also, can you zoom back so we can see almost all the cubes at once on the board, if we can't see all the cubes at once? I want you to notice that as you step back from a drawing, as you look at it more briefly, you start to see the flaws go away and it starts to be more clearly a cube. All right, now, if I have to point to something that's really messing me up mentally, I'd say that I need to fix my convergence here because I've got these two lines converging wrong. But if you step back, people don't notice that, and your good ones, like say for instance this one, they look great when you step back a little bit. And most people look at sketches like this, like I'm looking at this sketch from this distance. They don't look at them like this. So you get a little bit of a break because people's brains create kind of a shorthand. They fill in the blanks. They want to see the object. They want to complete the object, okay? And well, perceptual blocks, we'll talk a little bit more about that in the chapter on that. I think that's chapter 3 in the book. And so your brain wants to help you. It wants to work with you so you don't have to get it perfect because other people's brains are doing the same thing. All right, that's it for now. A little extra expanded tutorial on the very basics of cubes, and we also touched a little bit on cylinders and cones. We'll come back to this again and again and just keep practicing. That's all for now. Thanks for listening.